Hey guys, in this video I'm going to walk you through why shadow operating beats starting in SMMA in 2026. So first thing, I've done both business models for like years each, so I am speaking from first-hand experience and I can tell you right away shadow operating is like 10 times better. But it's all well and good me telling you that, so the purpose of this video is to actually walk you through why it's better and to show you each reason and kind of like each element you could say of the business so you can directly see a comparison. And just to start off, like if you don't know what shadow operating is, essentially it's a business model where you find an influencer and then you partner with them and you take a percentage of the revenue, usually 30 to 50%, and you work on a rev share basis. So as the business grows, your income grows versus an SMMA, usually targeting local businesses and running like paid ads for them and having a big team and agency style. So that's kind of just to start off and break down the differences between the two business models. Now, if we get straight into the video and start comparing like each aspect, right? So I put here the SMMA model on the left and the shadow operating on the right, as you can see. So the first one is like kind of the revenue structure. So as you can see here, like usually with an SMMA, you are charging a retainer, which means, you approach these businesses and you try to sign them on as a client and ask for an upfront retainer. It could be anywhere from 3 to 8K as I put here. And yeah, you just start working with them. Now, the thing with this is you are capped by how many clients that you can serve because each client does take up a good amount of time and obviously effort, right? Because you've got to generate them results for them to keep paying you month to month. So yeah, it's quite a high pressure scenario. And also the more clients you have, of course, there's more revenue, but there could be also more churn. So like if you don't generate them the results that they're expecting in like the first couple months, they might want to leave and find a different agency. And from what I've found and from what I've seen is like businesses know that they have options, right? So like they know, okay, well, if you're not going to hit this crazy magical number, well, then I'll go find another agency. So that's the first aspect of it, okay? Now, with the shadow operating, it's completely different. So as I said before, revenue share, there's no upfront costs. So it's very attractive to the right influencer who you want to work with because, you essentially come in, you say, hey, look, I'm not asking you to put down even $1 today. Just say yes, and then we can get started. So the risk is low for them. So it makes sense for them to want to try it, right? And then for you, also very low because there's not many software costs involved. Like, honestly, this business can be done 100 or a couple $100 really a month. So, and that's kind of like once you start to launch. So very low risk for everybody and just super high potential. Like there's no downside and there's infinite upside. That's what I like about shadow operating. And as you grow the business and you consistently put effort into it, your revenue share and your profit essentially grows along with it. And with the right influencer, offer and system, you can literally scale to the moon. This is what I did. I generated over 7 figures with a fitness influencer and I worked with him for like a year and a half. So yeah, revenue share is the first aspect to it, okay? And I think you can see here why shadow operating edges out because you get that exponential income and instead of working with multiple clients, you just need to work with one. All right, so let's move on to the next aspect, which is the team requirement. So with agency, right, especially if you want to scale and get to big numbers, you will kind of need a team because running ads is usually the service that you're delivering, right? So you usually need to hire this out because you don't want all your time going into fulfillment. It should be going into either generating more eyeballs to your agency or doing outreach or getting the sales, right? So you will probably have a team and you will also have a lot of salaries to pay, ads to pay. There's a lot of overheads that come along with this, but yeah, you essentially have more responsibility. Not to say that shadow operating you don't, it's just you have mouths to feed, essentially. And yeah, like obviously with more people in the business, there's more communication, more time spent, more management. So that's the SMMA model. Versus shadow operating, literally just you and the influencer. Like, of course, they are going to be working with you together, but in terms of who's actually doing the service, it's just you. If you want to hire a VA, of course you can go ahead and do that. That's if you want, but it's honestly not necessary. And with the overheads, super, super low. So literally a couple $100 for the softwares. I'm not even kidding. That's like literally how low it can be. And then, yeah, like that's basically it. So you can see the difference right away. You know, SMMA, lots of different staff, team members, ad specialists, VAs, account managers, high overheads versus just you. Overheads, a couple $100. So there you go. And one key point that I forgot to touch on just up here, right? Like with agency, you're getting paid for the activity that you were doing for like the clients, right? But this all takes time. So you are capped by the amount of clients that you have versus shadow operating with one influencer, you are paid for outcomes. So however much revenue you generate is kind of like the percent which you'll get it from, right? So there's unlimited upside there, which is why I think it's way better and more high leverage, in my opinion. So yeah, moving on to the next aspect in terms of time investment. Man, when I was running an agency, this was insane. Like 50 to 70 hour weeks, constantly calls, team meetings, fixing problems. Like if I woke up in the middle of the night and saw my phone like Slack message, some problem happened with a client, I would have to go ahead and fix it. I couldn't go back to sleep. So yeah, you're always on and you're constantly putting fires out, checking notifications. You don't get a break. You don't get a rest. It's like go, go, go. Now, if you're an entrepreneur and you like hustle, maybe it's not a problem. Like for me, like I didn't really mind it, but for most people, I think it would be quite demanding. And when you do the hourly rate calculation, like even if you're making good income, like 10, 20K, right? But then you actually look at the amount of hours you're putting into it, you're probably, it's not as much as you would expect, in my opinion. So that's the SMMA model versus shadow operating. Honestly, so much more step back. Like, of course, you will be communicating with the influencer you're working with. So, you know, through WhatsApp, through Zoom calls, not even that often really, but yeah, it's like super chill and you get to control your schedule. So, like, that's the thing I like about it. And when I was doing my shadow operating business, when I launched back in 2023, you know, I traveled to like 10 or 15 countries and I was able to operate this business in every country and it was completely fine. Like, that's the thing I like about it. Versus an agency where you might have local clients and you should be in their time zone so that you can reply to them and also hop on meetings at a suitable time. But with shadow operating, you're completely behind the scenes. You don't need to hop on any calls. It's just you and the influencer and you really take control of your schedule. Basically, once we've built everything, we get to leverage the audience followers that they've built up over many years and see instant revenue come through the door. So another reason why I love shadow operating over SMMA. And just real quick, like I'm not trying to hate on SMMA. Like it definitely works. I've done it, right? And I know many people who do it, and it's a good business model. But when you have an option to start, and like if I could go back in time and I watched a video like this where I had two options and I could see A and B and then make a decision, I would go for shadow operating every time just because of all the reasons that I'm going through right now. So just wanted to say that. So yeah, let's move on to profit margins. Now, you know, even if you can get up to this level of income, like 40K, which is actually pretty good in the SMA, what would you call it, industry. But yeah, like that's gross. And then you got a lot of costs. So like I said before, team, ads, softwares, VAs, like the list just goes on. There's a lot of expenses involved. So your margins are lower than shadow operating. So even if you're like doing 30K, you might be only pocketing 10, for example. Now, yeah, with shadow operating, the thing that I like is based on your percentage split, it's pure profit essentially. Low expenses, super high profit margin. Shadow operating edges out there as well. Now, if we go on to scalability, this is another big thing that I think not many people foresee, or like when you get into it, right, you just think, okay, I want to make money. I've heard of SMMA, let me go try it. But in terms of the long-term scalability, there's a whole nother element to it, because your time is limited in this business and you're kind of like a glorified employee, you could say, when you run an agency. And yeah, like you make more revenue, but the stress is literally like linear to it as well. So you become a manager of like multiple employees and, always putting out fires, like I said before. So, you'll grow it linearly, however you say that word. But yeah, like it'll go up like that, and then it kind of like caps out at the top there. Versus shadow operating, once you get your partnership and then you launch, the launch might be like here, and then you keep improving the system, optimizing everything. The system does most of the work for you, and then you just scale exponentially. So if you look at those two curves, I know which one I want to go for. It's this one here. Okay, so let's move on to the next part here in terms of like how these two business models can scale. So like with the agency, when you get more clients, there's more team members. And then when you have more team members, you've got to manage more people, which creates more complexity, which creates more problems. So you become a manager, and when your revenue increases, your stress is almost guaranteed to increase as well. Versus shadow operating, you can secure more partnerships, which gets you a bigger revenue share, but it's just you. And you are in control, and it's just you. And your systems that you create, you can kind of plug and play and duplicate to the other influencer. And that's not going to take any more of your time, because systems can work 24/7. They don't actually require you to be physically creating ads and doing things. Once you've set up the digital product, once you've set up the funnel, it will do the work for you, which is why you can scale higher and work less and just focus on, securing more partnerships, growing those businesses, and each one will only take a couple hours per day, depending on how much you want to grow the business. But yeah, my point is it's less maintenance than an agency. So yeah, that's the scalability. If we go into client relationships, now with an agency, you're kind of like a vendor, you could say, one of many that they hire, and they don't see you as special. And I guess in the way that they treat you, potentially. Of course, there are some good clients, but they know there's many other options when it comes to an agency. And yeah, like because you have to have 10, 15 clients to hit that revenue number of like 20, 30K, then you can't really build greater, deeper relationships with your clients because you don't have as much time to spend with each one of them, right? And so, yeah, like from what I've seen, just like there's constant churn in the agency space, and it's 2 to 3 clients per year, depending on how many you have. And then again, like I said before, like you're treated as replaceable. They know that there's another agency that they can go and call. So their expectations are super high, and they will, I don't know if it's them intentionally doing this, but they sneakily like increase the amount of work that they want you to do for the same price. And it's a really fine line of like, the key with this is really outlining the deliverables at the beginning. And yeah, if you're not careful, you'll end up doing everything for them. And then in terms of the dynamics, like it's a monthly retainer and there's high expectations, like seriously. So the incentives could be misaligned, and of course you want them to keep paying, but they want to see results, right? Okay, compared to shadow operating, you are a partner. So just, you can see the two words, right? Vendor, partner, like instantly there's a difference in how they view you. And as a partner, of course, you are invested in their success, and they know that because you're getting a revenue share percentage. So they know that you're not making a dime until you've made them money. So that's the first thing about it. And usually with this business model, you only need 2 to 4 partners. To be honest, yeah, like 3. If you have 3 and then you just keep them going, that is absolutely perfect. You don't need more than that, and you can keep growing these businesses. The way I teach it is usually, we set up a digital product or offer, and it's monthly recurring revenue. So that way, you're not just doing a one-off launch, which will do well, but then after you got to go get in your next client, right? It's essentially like an agency then. So with this way, it's less clients, more monthly recurring revenue, and yeah, that's the difference. And if you're doing well and you're making money with them, then the churn rate will be low, because why would they want to, not want to work with you if you're helping them make money, right? So yeah, like the cool thing about this is they will want to stay with you, because if they could be making money before, they would be. But because you've come into the picture and you've shown them that you can actually generate results, and you are generating them results, they will want to keep working with you. And I know this from personal experience. So yeah, they will trust you with revenue critical decisions. And the cool thing is, and this is what I did, is once you can make a success with one influencer, well, you know what? You can leverage that partnership and your experience to get another influencer. And so that's how you can kind of keep scaling this business. And you're not going to, like the first time, maybe you have to do cold outreach where you are sending DMs and then hopping on calls like that. But your next partner doesn't have to be like that. You can get the referral from them. So that's how you can kind of scale it, right? Now let's move on to the last point of this business model, which is lifestyle, which I think is important because, well, what's your life? So yeah, like with an agency, man, chained to a laptop, 9 a.m., 7 p.m. Traveling is like a big thing because it will affect everything, like your communication with the clients, your team, the calls that you hop on. Like there's a lot that is involved. Okay, so you're always on, you're always checking your phone. There's a lot of stress. Yeah, like I put here, like it feels like you're running on a treadmill, literally. Versus a shadow operating business, like super, like way more free time. You can work 15, 20 hours a week. WhatsApp communication with the influencer, and your location independent. So literally just your laptop and Wi-Fi, and you're good to go. And low stress. There's no team involved. There's no like many different clients to get back to. It's just you and the influencer doing your thing, and you can basically travel where you want and live the life that you like. But the amount of money you make can be literally the same as the agency, with less stress, less time, more freedom. So if you ask me which one I'd want to start, of course I will go the shadow operating way. Okay, so yeah. Alright, so let's just recap quickly the 7 reasons why shadow operating beats SMMA agencies. The first thing is obviously the revenue structure. So with shadow operating, you're getting a percentage of the revenue. So as you grow the business, so does your income exponentially, versus a fixed retainer with, basically a capped on the amount you can earn no matter how much work you do. Second, team, you are completely solo, just you and the influencer. No one else is on your team. Versus SMMA, you need 5 to 10 people and you have lower margins. Okay. 3, time. So the amount of time that you need to spend on this business is much, much lower, like 20 hours a week versus 60 hours a week, like 3 times less. So you can have more freedom to do the things that you love while earning the same, if not more, income. Okay, scalability. So, you have more partnerships with shadow operating, but it's just you, basically, for all 3. Versus SMMA, you need more clients and a bigger team to grow. So more complexity, more headaches. Here is just more money, really. And yeah, relationships is the next one. So you get to build deep relationships with each influencer, because if you're only working with 1 to 3, you'll be communicating more and building a real bond between you guys. So that's a good plus because later on, if they want to refer you another influencer, and they'll be happy to do so because, if they have friends and who are other influencers and you've helped them, of course they're going to want to help you. Versus like, having 10, 15 clients, you're treated as a vendor and you're not really going to have time to even build those relationships because you're so busy fulfilling and doing the ads for them. Now onto the 6th point, so the lifestyle, location independent. So you get the freedom to basically travel where you want and you're not chained to your laptop all day. That's a really big thing, I think, for a lot of you guys. And then, lastly, like this is one that I think is super important. It's alignment. And with shadow operating, you win when they win. So you have a real incentive to make it work and the influencer knows that. And that's why they'll be willing to work with you versus agencies, misaligned incentives, like I talked about before. So those are like the 7 reasons why shadow operating is better. Okay, so moving on here. Now, the bottom line, SMMA agencies can work, but it's like business on hard mode, right? So you're building a job essentially disguised as a business because, as I said, you're capped income per month, no matter how many hours you generate. It's essentially like a 9-to-5 job in a way. You're just managing people. And then with shadow operating, it's like business on easy mode, and you get to make the same money, if not more, for the fraction of the complexity. Like, it's a really straightforward business model when you know the right systems and strategies. So moving on to the last part here. So the reality is, look, if you want to manage a team, deal with client churn, work 60 hours a week, and trade your freedom for revenue, start an agency. If you want to work 20 hours a week, keep 97% of what you make, build deep partnerships with influencers, and have location freedom, well then become a shadow operator. I have done both, and I'll never go back to the agency model. And look, the comparison is not even close. Look at this, like 25K a month net, 60 hours a week, high stress team management versus shadow operating, 25K a month net, 20 hours a week, so 3 times less, low stress and solo. Same income, completely different life. And I think most people start agencies because that's what they've just seen the gurus recommend, and it's like what they think is the best way to make money online. But I'm here to tell you, in 2026, shadow operating is objectively better for anyone who values freedom, simplicity, and high profit margins. And kind of just all those reasons that we went through in this video today, I think you can see why. And lastly, if you are ready to build a shadow operating business instead of an agency, after all the reasons I've just described, you can click that first link in the description and apply to work with me one-on-one. I can come on as your mentor. I'll show you exactly how to find influencers, what to actually message them, how to 10x your response rate, how to land your partnership, how to structure partnership deals, build them an offer, and scale to 20K a month. So if that's something you're interested in and you are serious about making this work and you don't want to waste months and months figuring this stuff out for yourself, well then I do encourage you to apply. And again, link is in the description. Otherwise, if you still want to start an agency, that's completely fine, but just know there is a better way. Anyway, please like, subscribe, and see you on the next one.